Hi, I am Denise Newton Fitzpatrick, an advocate for the mentally ill and also the homeless in regards housing discrimination that is illegal. I am a strong supporter of civil rights. I'm a fighter for civil rights then, and actually, to put it all together, I am an advocate for equality. This video that I'm making now is for anyone and everyone, but is specifically written by me to the people without their own housing. We have been using the word homeless for a long time, but I will now be referring to these ones as people without their own housing. Note that we all have civil rights, regardless of race. The government has failed at its responsibility to its people in a large way. It has not held to its terms in enforcing the civil, human, and civil liberties towards people who are without their own housing. In fact, it has violated such rights, generating the filing of lawsuits by various advocacy groups and civil rights organizations and the like. Sadly, these injustices or violations of their own laws make them responsible for much of the sufferings towards people without their own adequate housing as a result of making safe, decent, and sanitary housing unavailable. If it is made unavailable, then it is not available. That's sad, because in violating their own laws, they are not standing up for the rights of their own people. They're violating those rights. As an advocate for equality that I am dedicated to using my voice on behalf of those who are without their own housing. It's one of the things I do. In the 1960s, many of us know that President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed the Fair Housing Act, or FHA, with civil rights fighter Martin Luther King Jr. looking on. How sad it is, then, that 50 years later, the promises of the FHA have gone unfulfilled. The Fair Housing Act, or FHA, was designed to do two things. One, put an end to or outlaw individual acts of housing discrimination and foster integration. This has never happened before. It had never happened before. It was the first time that Congress made it illegal for private individuals to discriminate on the basis of race in the sale or rental of housing. Now, this was no small thing. In 1866 there was an adoption of an early civil rights statute. It said that all citizens shall have the same right as was enjoyed by white citizens thereof to inherit or gain, purchase, lease, sell, hold, and convey real and personal property. But this protection was treated as addressing only government action. Now, on September the 13th, top of my head, let's see, yes, September 13, 1988, the FHA was amended and became effective on March 12th, 1989. Thus, the Act amends Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which was designed but still not enforced to prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin in housing, sales, rentals, or financing. Now, this amending of the FHA was designed to protect certain groups of individuals called protected classes. Now, there are 7 protected classes that include those with mental disability. Certain state and local laws, though, often extend these protected classes to include such characteristics as sexual preference, age, and even student status. But are these groups really protected? In the year of 2014, as many know, I have made videos and posted on Facebook many times about our case, me and my son. In the year of 2014, I applied for housing for us under a government assistance housing program. But such safe, decent, and affordable housing was made unavailable for my son by a local government entity because he has a mental disability. Yet he's a member of a protected class. Therefore, he was eligible for the housing because he has a mental disability. Then he was excluded from the housing because he has a mental disability. These acts resulted in severe damages, including homelessness. No, we're not homeless now, but this included homelessness. Talking about how the government has failed its responsibility of upholding and enforcing its own laws, therefore creating homelessness or keeping homelessness alive, at the same time while saying, in homelessness, we're going to end homelessness. Is that so? The so-called government entity that violated our rights by making housing unavailable for my son because he has a mental disability, later, as proven in a court of law, state as being a government agency authorized by the federal government to provide housing for those of a protected class. Yet they made housing unavailable for the son because he's a member of a protected class. And did the government itself, who gave the local government authorization to provide the housing for those of a protected class, did that government itself stand by us in violations of their own FHAA of 1988 by the government entity who violated such laws that they gave them the authorization to abide by? No. In fact, an executive branch of the federal government, Housing and Urban Development, tried to keep me from filing a lawsuit against the local violating government entity of which they gave the right to abide by their laws. And not only did the local government entity violate many federal statutes under the FHAA of 1988 in making the housing unavailable for the son because he has a mental disability, also violated more than one reasonable accommodation request to add the son to the housing that he was already excluded from because he has a mental disability. A reasonable accommodation is a change in rules, policies, and procedures to afford a person enjoyment in housing. But when they denied, on top of making the housing available, when they denied more than one reasonable accommodation request, that was another count of illegal discrimination. Because I signed into the program, to the rules, that a participant could request a change in family composition. That was required and called a reasonable accommodation request, as required, again, by the Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988. But that was denied too as well, amongst other things. Now, the violations of the Federal Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988 also caused them to violate the U.S. Constitution because the U.S. Constitution, they violated the U.S. Constitution because it involved a government entity. They violated civil rights because when housing discrimination is proven, as ours was in a court of law, constitutes a civil rights violation. Civil liberties were violation, human rights were violation. Section 504 of the Petition Act was violated. Chapter 35A of the Guardianships Act was violated. The American Disability Act violated. And so these things, all of these violations then, at the time, and many or several years afterwards, kept homelessness alive and created homelessness over and over and over again. So then, when we think about, I'm using the word homeless again because it kind of, it's in your mind. It's going to take me some time to eliminate it completely and using people without their own housing. So the violations of all of these laws, being their laws, violate their own laws, created homelessness, or created a situation of people being without their own housing. So as an advocate for equality, I am inviting and asking that not only homeless people without their own housing, or I go again, to please subscribe to my YouTube channel as I use my voice and my energy to stand up for equality. To those who are without their own housing, join my new group on Facebook, the Stars Bonus Program, which is an incentive program for resources for those living without housing, which is in association with my new YouTube channel. The Stars Bonus Program is explained in full on my Facebook page. How it's going to work, what it really is, what it will generate as resources, including housing for those who want housing that are in a situation of being without their own housing. Fair housing is the law. The Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988 is the law. Their laws. Have a great day. Goodbye now.